the sun set behind the Carpathian ridges, dyeing the woods in shades of gold and vermilion. Shadows lengthened across the venerable stone barriers of Castle Bran where quiet dominated. In the castle's lofty corridors, an elderly man with pallid complexion and intense vermilion gaze sat alongside his grandson, Alex, a 10-year-old whose presence brought joy to the otherwise grave fortress. The boy's giggles resounded as he crafted rudimentary sketches on a parchment, his grandfather observing with an occasional, subtle smile. Vlad, the sovereign of darkness, had spent eons isolated, shunning contemporary civilization and its diversions. However, Alex, the last of his earthly lineage, had rekindled a deep-seated, albeit delicate bond of kinship love. This evening, as they sat near the crackling fireplace, Alex chattered about a tome he discovered in the castle's extensive library. "Grandfather, did you realize people once believed the stars were deities?" Alex inquired, his eyes brimming with curiosity. Vlad chuckled quietly, his voice a deep murmur. "Humans have consistently sought significance in the cosmos, my child, yet remember, the profoundest truths often reside beneath their scrutiny." Before Vlad could expound, the ambience altered, a sense of encroachment, a predator invading sacred territory. Centuries of predatory instincts surged within him. He stood smoothly, defying his years, his gaze sharpening as he scanned the shadows. "Remain here," Vlad instructed, his tone brooking no dissent. Alex nodded, his face reflecting confusion and apprehension. Outside, the night intensified unnaturally as entities descended from the heavens in a vessel veiled in shimmering distortion. The Zuran mercenaries, a notorious cadre of galactic assassins, moved with clinical precision. They were garbed in dark exosuits, their luminescent visors casting a spooky glow around. The chief of the assassins, a towering extraterrestrial named Korik, gestured with a clawed hand. "Spread out, the relic is here, the youngster is the conduit." Oblivious to the ancient power they were infringing upon, the assassins breached the outer defenses. Vlad moved silently through the corridors, his enhanced senses attuned to every noise and motion, recognizing the energy radiated by the intruders, an essence not of this world, an aura he hadn't encountered in millennia. Vlad reached the upper battlements and scrutinized the intruders, their weaponry humming with an unfamiliar energy. He couldn't comprehend their interest in Alex but knew one thing: these beings would not depart bloodless. As Vlad descended with supernatural swiftness to face the invaders, the assassins located Alex. The lad, scared yet valiant, stood with his fists clenched. "Who are you? What do you desire?" Korik tilted his head, appraising the boy with detached interest. "The relic, where is it?" "I'm unaware of what you mean," Alex retorted, his voice quivering. Annoyed by what he perceived as resistance, Korik elevated his weapon, a sleek device buzzing with power. A single catastrophic beam of light engulfed the room. When it dissipated, Alex lay inert on the chilly stone floor. Vlad arrived a moment too late, his vermilion eyes locking onto the still figure of his grandson. For a moment, time seemed to halt. The assassins, momentarily sidetracked by the sound of Vlad's approach, turned to face him. Korik, oblivious to the severity of his actions, aimed his weapon at the newcomer. "You will meet the child's fate if you resist," Korik threatened. Vlad did not respond. Instead, he stepped into the scant light, his form imposing and shadowed by the flickering torches. His eyes glowed like molten jewels, his face a mask of relentless fury. The temperature in the room appeared to drop, and the assassins instinctively recoiled, sensing that the predator before them was beyond their understanding. With a gesture of his hand, Vlad summoned a barrier of darkness that enveloped the nearest assassin. The extraterrestrial's screams were abruptly silenced as the darkness crushed him into oblivion. The others opened fire, their energy bolts slicing through the air. Vlad moved swifter than their eyes could track, closing the distance with terrifying rapidity. Korik barked orders, but the assassins faltered, their weapons futile against the ancient power they had aroused. One by one, they fell, consumed by darkness or shredded by Vlad's monstrous strength. Finally, only Korik remained, pinned against the wall by an invisible force. The alien gasped for air as Vlad approached, his voice a low growl, "You have taken something irreplaceable from me. Who sent you?" Korik struggled but remained silent, his pride and fear battling within him. Vlad's patience evaporated. He extended a clawed hand and delved into Korik's mind, extracting memory fragments through sheer will. Images of distant planets, a council of extraterrestrial figures, and the bounty on Earth's relic flooded Vlad's mind. Releasing the now lifeless body of Korik, Vlad stood amidst the carnage, his gaze returning to Alex's still form. For the first time in centuries, tears welled in his eyes. Kneeling beside the boy, he placed a hand on Alex's chest. "You were the beacon in my darkness," Vlad murmured, "and now the cosmos themselves will atone." The castle quaked as Vlad unleashed a surge of energy that shot into the night sky. It was not a plea for aid but a declaration of warfare. The venerable Lord of Vampires, once content to linger hidden, had been incited into action, carrying Alex's body. Vlad returned to the castle's inner sanctum, positioning the lad in a stone sarcophagus, a look of sorrow carved onto his face. Alone in the crypt, he pledged to the child who had brought him happiness in a realm of shadows. "I will not rest until their blood tinges the heavens," Vlad vowed. The night deepened, and far beyond Earth, the Zarthan's employers would soon comprehend the cost of their blunder. Vlad, the sovereign of darkness, had declared war once again, and nothing in the galaxy could halt him. Vlad stood atop the highest turret of Castle Bran, his vermilion eyes piercing the veil of night. Below, the world was silent, oblivious to the tempest about to engulf it. High above, the stars seemed to twinkle with mocking indifference, as if they dared him to act. His mind, no longer a tempest of grief, had solidified into unwavering resolve. The images he had extracted from Korik's mind had sketched a vivid tableau. The assassins were merely tools of the Zuran Dominion, an intergalactic empire that spanned countless worlds. The relic they sought was not a treasure but Alex himself, his lineage ancient and mighty, a remnant of forgotten magic that the Dominion yearned to harness. They had come for conquest, but they had merely awakened destruction. The ancient vampire had no need for contemporary technology to traverse the stars. His powers, honed over centuries, allowed him to manipulate shadows in ways that defied natural laws. Yet even Vlad, formidable as he was, recognized the necessity for knowledge. He would need information, an understanding of the Dominion's reach, and the means to strike at its core. His initial destination was the mountain city of Brav, a locale where whispers hinted at a man knowledgeable about strange travelers and celestial secrets. Viktor Karov, a reclusive scholar and cultist, was a name Vlad had encountered in bygone decades. If anyone grasped the workings of the Dominion and their motives, it would be him. Under the cover of darkness, Vlad traveled with the speed of the wind, arriving in the city before midnight. He moved unseen through narrow alleys until he reached the decaying tower that served as Karov's abode. The heavy oak door creaked open as Vlad entered, his presence stilling the air within. Viktor Karov, a man in his 60s with a lean frame and sharp green eyes, stood among shelves brimming with arcane texts and artifacts. He froze as the unmistakable aura of power filled the room. "Vlad," Karov whispered, his voice quaking with a mix of awe and fear, "what brings you here after so many years?" "I seek answers," Vlad replied, his tone icy and authoritative. "A group of interstellar assassins breached my domain and murdered my grandson. They sought a relic they believed I possessed. Tell me all you know of the Zuran Dominion." Karov's expression darkened. "Zuran Dominion," he corrected, motioning for Vlad to follow him deeper into the study. "An empire founded on exploitation and conquest. They scour the galaxy for remnants of ancient power, artifacts, bloodlines, anything they can wield to assert dominance. If they came to you, it means they believe you hold something critical to their plans. They encountered only demise, Vlad stated. But I must ensure no one follows their path. Where is the Dominion's heart? Karov hesitated. Their capital is Vexus Prime, a fortress world surrounded by fleets. Reaching it would be nearly impossible, but there's a way to draw them out. Strike at their outposts, disrupt their operations, force their hand. Vlad's lips twisted into a faint smile. Then tell me where to begin. Karov retrieved a map from a cluttered desk, its surface marked with symbols and alien coordinates. He pointed to a spot highlighted in crimson ink. Here, the Dominion has established a research facility orbiting a dead star. They study dark matter and energy there, key resources for their empire. If you destroy it, they will take notice. Vlad nodded and stepped toward the door, but Karov spoke again. Be wary, Lord of Shadows. The Zuran Dominion is unlike any foe you've faced. Their technology will not protect them, Vlad interrupted, his voice definitive. They took Alex. Nothing else matters. With that, he vanished into the night, leaving Karov in stunned silence. Vlad's journey to the dead star was unlike any he had undertaken before. Manipulating the very fabric of reality, he traversed the void of space, his form enshrouded in darkness that even the stars seemed to avoid. When he arrived at the Zuran research facility, a sprawling complex of sleek metal and pulsating lights, he observed its defenses from afar. Dozens of ships patrolled the perimeter, their movements precise and relentless. He descended like a specter, slipping past their sensors with ease. Inside, the facility was sterile, filled with the hum of machinery. He moved through the corridors, a phantom in the shadows, his predatory instincts guiding him. The first encounter came swiftly, a group of Zuran guards clad in the same black exosuits as the assassins rounded a corner and froze at the sight of him. They raised their weapons, but Vlad moved faster than thought. In a blur of motion, he tore through them, their cries silenced before they could echo. Reaching the central chamber, Vlad found what he sought, a core of concentrated dark energy, the facility's lifeblood. He placed his hands on a containment field, and the shadows within him writhed in recognition of the energy's raw power. With a surge of his will, he unleashed a cascade of destruction, the energy spiraling out of control and consuming the facility in a blinding explosion. As Vlad emerged unscathed from the wreckage, he knew his actions would send a message to the Dominion. He had drawn first blood, and they would retaliate, but that was precisely what he wanted. Far across the galaxy, on Vexus Prime, the news of the destroyed facility reached the Dominion's ruling council. The chamber, a grand hall of alien architecture, buzzed with tension. At its center stood Grand Arbiter Carr, the Dominion's ruthless leader. This is no ordinary rebellion, Carr growled, his voice resonating with authority. Whoever dares strike at us will learn the price of defiance. Unseen by Carr, Vlad's shadows had already begun to creep into the Dominion's heart, setting the stage for a confrontation that would shake the stars themselves. The halls of Alexis Prime were silent, but the tension was palpable. Grand Arbiter Carr stood at the helm of the Dominion's War Council, his imposing figure bathed in the cold glow of holographic projections. The image before him detailed the devastation wrought by the intruder, a single entity moving with impossible precision, leaving destruction in its wake. Carr's voice cut through the heavy air like a blade. This anomaly is no common insurgent. Reports indicate it bypassed our advanced detection systems and obliterated the research facility without external aid. His clawed hand gestured toward a shimmering image of Vlad, captured fleetingly during the assault. What manner of creature is this? One of his advisors, a gaunt figure named Zyle, stepped forward. The anomaly matches no known species in our database, but its methods suggest a reliance on dark energy, possibly ancient or arcane in origin. Carr's eyes narrowed. Ancient, perhaps, but not invincible. Prepare the fleet. We will root out this threat and ensure it becomes an example for all who dare oppose the Dominion. The fleet mobilized with terrifying efficiency. Hundreds of warships, each bristling with weapons, capable of eradicating entire worlds, emerged from Vexus Prime's orbital docks. Their destination, Earth, the last known location of the intruder. Vlad watched their approach from the shadows of Castle Bran. The night was unnaturally still, as though the world itself was holding its breath. His gaze swept across the horizon, where the first glimmers of the Dominion's fleet appeared in the sky like falling stars. He had prepared for this. The ruins of his ancestral homeland, long dormant, now thrummed with latent energy. Rituals older than civilization had awakened the land itself, turning the forest into labyrinths of living shadows and the mountains into sentinels of stone. Vlad's domain was no longer merely a fortress, it was a weapon, alive and ready to defend its master. As the Dominion ships descended, beams of searing light cut through the darkness, incinerating swathes of the land below. But the strikes found no purchase. Shadows coalesced into barriers, deflecting the attacks with an almost sentient awareness. The invaders' confusion grew as their weapons proved useless against an enemy that seemed to melt into the void. Vlad appeared amidst the chaos, his figure silhouetted against the burning horizon. The Dominion forces, clad in their sleek exosuits, advanced cautiously, their commanders barking orders through crackling comms, urging discipline against the unknown foe. "You should have stayed among the stars," Vlad intoned, his voice carrying across the battlefield like a denial. The first wave of soldiers charged, their weapons spitting plasma and concussive blasts, but Vlad was faster than their technology, weaving through their ranks with a grace that defied comprehension. His strikes were surgical, each motion ending a life with chilling efficiency. Carr himself descended from the command ship, his massive frame encased in a gilded battle suit. His presence halted the battle momentarily as both sides recognized the weight of his arrival. "Creature," Carr growled, his voice amplified by his suit's speakers, "you stand against the Ziran Dominion. Your defiance is meaningless. Surrender, and your death will be swift." Vlad stepped forward, his expression devoid of fear. "You killed my grandson. There will be no surrender." Carr raised an armored hand, and a torrent of energy surged toward Vlad. The vampire lord countered with a wall of shadows, the collision of forces shaking the earth beneath them. The battle between the two titans was ferocious, each exchange of blows sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. Carr, though a master of war, found himself outmatched. Vlad's power was not born of technology or training but of an ancient darkness that transcended the limits of physical existence. For every strike Carr landed, Vlad responded with a devastating counter, his movements fluid and unrelenting. As the duel raged on, the Dominion forces began to falter. The shadows of Castle Bran, imbued with Vlad's will, turned against them. Soldiers were dragged into the abyss, their screams swallowed by the encroaching darkness. Carr, bloody but unbroken, unleashed a final desperate attack. His suit's core flared with blinding energy, a self-destructive gambit designed to obliterate everything within a mile. Vlad stood firm, his eyes glowing like embers as the energy surged toward him. He raised his hand, and the shadows surged in response, absorbing the blast in a cacophony of roaring winds and crackling light. When the dust settled, Carr lay broken at Vlad's feet. "You sought power beyond your understanding," Vlad said, his voice low and cold, "and now you pay the price." With a single motion, he ended the Dominion leader's life. The remaining Ziran forces, leaderless and terrified, retreated to their ships. Vlad watched as they fled, his crimson gaze unyielding. The message was clear: Earth was not theirs to conquer, and those who tried would face annihilation. As the Last of the ships vanished into the void. The land around Castle Bran fell silent once more. Vlad stood alone, his victory hollow but necessary. The pain of Alex's death lingered, a wound that time could not heal, but he had ensured his grandson's memory would be honored, and the Dominion would think twice before returning to Earth. In the stillness that followed, Vlad turned his gaze to the stars. The Dominion had been humbled, but he knew they were not the only threat lurking in the cosmos. Others would come, drawn by Earth's mysteries and its fierce defenders. And when they did, Vlad would be waiting.